Hello, everyone. I'm Aseem Jakhar, founder of EXPLIoT, and today we have with us at ISMG studio, Stefano Zanero, cybersecurity professor at Politecnico di Milano. Welcome to ISMG studio, Stefano.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
So let's start with malware analysis. So you've been involved in malware analysis for over two decades now. How has the approach to malware detection evolved with modern techniques like ML, sandbox evasion? And where do you think the traditional static and dynamic analysis still holds critical value?
I think that we are still using static and dynamic analysis. The thing is that instead of seeing them as two separate techniques, we are seeing them more and more as two integrated parts. And we are leveraging the use of ML and AI. We've been doing that for 15 years, not just now that it's on everybody's mind, because we have so many samples around, like 2 million new samples per day uploaded on VirusTotal. And there is one thing that machine learning techniques are great at, which is to ignore things that repeat or find things that are strange in a large data set. And that's something that we have been using. Also, from the evasion standpoint, there is a lot of techniques that are used, and they really, I think, show that malware authors really care about avoiding us looking into their stuff. And this has been a growing concern because, of course, they really target exactly what we are doing, and they really look for precisely the tools that we are using. So it's the usual never-ending battle of security, but it's a very strong contention going on there.
But do you think ML techniques or AI in general could be able to beat this scenario where they're looking at what tools you're using? Because let's face it, it is much more intelligent in identifying specific traits than human eyes, right?
Yeah, so I think that while the human insight in understanding the reason why an attacker is doing something or connecting the dots is still, of course, unparalleled, and it's going to be unparalleled for a long time. What machine learning can do is finding similarities, helping out with, finding sample that is similar to something that we already analyzed and saving precious time for the analyst. On the other hand, one of my worries is that as we increase our reliance on tools and automation, attackers are going to study our tools and automation. So one of the things that we need to do is, if we build machine learning into malware analysis pipelines, we need to make sure that attackers cannot use that to hide what they're doing because they know a weakness of how we pre-filter or pre-analyze things with machine learning.
And you've done significant work in securing cyber-physical systems. So what are the biggest blind spots that traditional IT security folks have been dealing with CPS or industrial environments?
I think that the important thing about cyber-physical systems is in the systems part of the word. And systems are the traditional domain of engineering education. So what I think happens is that people that come to cybersecurity from different paths in life and have trained specifically on the security of digital devices miss the important systemic part of understanding how the mechanical system, for instance, or the physical system behind works. And this can lead to either assumptions that are not true, or to not properly understanding what is relevant and what is not in threat modeling. We see that all the times while reviewing talks, for instance, for conferences such as Black Hat, where people have broken the digital component of a cyber-physical system in a way that is actually very interesting, but they have not really broken the system. So examples that are typical are systems that are on board aircraft. In order for that system to be critically vulnerable, you need to understand the context of the aircraft and also of the aviation system around it. If you do not put that in proper context, you don't understand. And this makes them both more exciting to work with and very challenging.
Do you think it's more from the perspective of an understanding of first acknowledging that there could be hardware security issues as well, and then probably look at software? Do you think that is one of the things that is hindering?
I think that hardware security is a significant part of the things that we overlook, both in purely digital systems and in cyber physical systems. On the other hand, cyber physical systems have been traditionally so broken from a software security standpoint that hardware security of the digital hardware is like the last problem. What I think is interesting is seeing, we have done research on that, and there's a lot of subsequent research that is going in that direction, is seeing people trying to use some of the hardware security features that we have put into system for protecting digital systems in order to try to protect cyber physical systems as well. For instance, using trust zone or other trusted execution environments to create safeguards that avoid, for instance, someone who has compromised a controller from taking drastic actions that you do not want. I think that that's something that we are going to see more and more in the future as this purely software component gets a little bit better and we start worrying about more sophisticated threats.
Okay, tell us about your aha moment in banking fraud detection, specifically in identifying fraudulent transactions with accuracy.
The first aha moment was when we realized that a lot of banking fraud or transaction fraud research is not new. It has been done for 20, 30 years. But it has mostly been done on payment systems. And transactions on payment systems like credit cards are very similar to each other in ways that banking transactions are not. So one of our aha moments was looking at these data sets from banks and realizing why the models that had been developed on credit cards would never work properly, because these systems have completely different statistical properties, completely different data structures that we had to analyze from scratch. So that I think was the first aha moment.
So you've been deeply involved in both academic research and startups as well. What are the major gaps that you see between cutting-edge academic security research and its adoption in the industry? And how can we bridge that? That is a common issue across the world.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a couple of issues at work there. One of them is that, academic research is somewhere like in orbit. Hacker research is somewhere like beyond orbit in terms of complexity, in terms of things that we look at. You go to attend a Black Hat talk, you see very deep analysis of specific things. And then the cybersecurity issues that most of the world is facing really derive from some basic things that are broken. So one of the things that I see is academic research being turned into startups that solve a problem that is so far out there that we still do not really need that solution. Whereas instead, there are problems that from an academic point of view, we think naively that are solved because on the book they are solved. Like my biggest pet peeve, personal pet peeve, authentication. Authentication is solved, right? It's chapter number 2 of any cybersecurity book, fundamentals book at the university, but it's not solved. We constantly get broken for that. So there's a space there for innovation that is maybe not cutting edge technical research or academic research, but it's applying well understood principles in a new way in order to actually fulfill that niche that is still not covered.
One of the things that I see is that with every new technology, we seem to make the same mistakes over and over again. For example, credentials is still a problem with devices as well, forget humans. I'm not able to understand the reason. Why is it that are we not good at communicating in terms of when we're working on a new technology to be able to look at it holistically, to look at security as well, or our focus is more to go to market first and then figure out the security?
I think that a big part is marketing on one side. So we really go with the new technology, shiny new technology, and somehow we do not try to apply the same patterns that we have already seen in the past. And an example that I really like is now we have all these LLM systems that are getting deployed, and people have been finding out and will keep finding out that you can inject things in the prompts
Exactly.
and get injections. And if you look at it, it's the same problem that we had with code injection in the 80s or 90s.
Exactly.
Why was that? Because we mixed code and data. Then we had the same problem in the web world. Why was that? Because we were mixing code or formatting and data. And now we have LLMs. And why are we having that problem? Because we are mixing input and instructions. It's the same problem over and over and over again. And we are very bad at learning lessons. Yes.
Question related to AI now. Given the surge in generative AI and LLMs, how do you see these tools being weaponized? Not just for social engineering, but in automated exploit generation, for example, or evasion for malware analysis? And are the current defenses even close to being prepared?
So I think that there is a wide potential of usage of these things for evasion, for instance, for mutations. It's already been explored very much in the academic world, but I would not discount their use in social engineering. In fact, I really think that is going to be a massive blast against defenses that are already always kind of breaking down on traditional social engineering techniques. We have already seen people weaponizing this in attacks where people had conference calls with their bosses without realizing it was a fake. And if you are at the point where you can talk with someone on Teams or on Zoom and not realize that is someone that you work with, is not someone that you do not know, is being faked, then we have an issue. I think that's the big issue that I would think about first. But yes, of course, there is a lot of possibility for these to be used in automatic exploitation. I think that the AI challenge that the DARPA has funded is interesting in that sense to see what can be done. I think it's still a little bit away from prime time. I would start worrying about how do we build some safeguards against manipulation of video and audio flows in conferencing programs before this becomes really, really mainstream. It's already getting there, and we are nowhere near ready for that.
Thank you so much. We were speaking with Stefano Zanero, cybersecurity professor at Politecnico di Milano. This is Aseem Jakhar signing off from ISMG Studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.